Bob's Breakfast.
I'm Graham Mack. You've heard me go on about smart motorways, Chris Hubbard, and how they annoy me because they are just giant speed traps. But I found out on Saturday that they are also going to kill people.
They're going to kill people?
You're lucky I'm here this morning after. Now, in case you don't know, your smart motorway, I object to the term, actually, smart motorway. There's nothing smart about them. What it is our motorways are not wide enough. So what they've done is they've created this smart motorway, which is a series of gantries, I'm guessing roughly every quarter mile. And the gantries now open and close the hard shoulder. And they also have a variable speed limit on them. So whereas in this country, when we were free, you used to just be able to drive at 90 on the motorway unless you saw a cop. And then you could slow down, go past the cop, and then carry on again at 90. Now what they do is they put us on a smart motorway, the maximum you can go is 70.
It is, yeah.
Because if you go under one of those gantries, there's a speed camera on the back side of the gantry that will snap you. If you're doing more than 70, you'll get a ticket. But it gets better. Because it doesn't stay at 70. It goes up and down like a you-know-what's drawers.
And you don't get any warning either.
Oh, no. It can change at a moment. It can just randomly change. You might be happily going along at 70, and the next minute you've got to get to 40 before the other side of the gantry, or you'll get a ticket. And it can go to any speed, up to 70, but any speed, 50, 40, 30, 20, anything. And these things are such a cash cow. I brought you the figures last week. I'll round them up for you now. Before we had smart motorways, and we're talking like 2010, these fixed penalties, because it's just a thing in the post. There's no police involved or anything. It was about 2,000 a year. But now on the same stretches of motorway that are now got smart motorways on them, it's 52,000.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
Really is.
That's how good these things are at making money. They make millions for the government. Millions that they don't seem to be ploughing back into the roads. Anyway, so I'm on the M6 just north of Birmingham on Saturday, about a third of a mile in front of junction 10A. I'm in the outside lane. It's a smart motorway. And it's got it up at 60 miles an hour. So I'm doing exactly 60 miles an hour. I got cruise control on my car. And I've also had the speedo tested. And actually, when mine shows 60, I'm doing 59.
Okay.
It's pouring with rain. I come up to the next gantry and I see it. I see it change from 60 to 50. And I know there's a camera on the other side. And I see the painted lines on the road. I thought, I don't want a ticket.
Well, no, you don't.
So I put my foot on the brake to slow down from 60 to 50. And then all hell broke loose. Because I caught a glimpse in my mirror of the guy in the Vauxhall behind me bounce off the crash barrier that separates the two carriageways. And then he spun round, and as he spun round into the next lane, he clipped me on the back left-hand corner of the car. He actually,
right.
And I felt him nudge me.
And you were doing 50 at this point?
I'd got down to 50 quickly, yeah. Well, he was probably still doing 60. Anyway, thing is, if he hadn't have hit that barrier and it taken the impact out of he would have gone right into me.
He would have done. Yeah, straight smack.
Yeah, I would have done a lot of damage. Now, I get over to the hard shoulder and I look down the road and there he is. So I put the hazards on, put my coat on, pouring with rain, walk back down the motorway. Actually, on the inside of the barrier. So I'm walking through the mud in the verge. But I'm not walking in the... You just never know.
Well, no, you don't want to go down the hard shoulder.
And all that time, my car's parked in the hard shoulder. All right, I've put the hazards on, but it's in the hard shoulder on a pouring wet day on a motorway where sometimes you can drive in the hard shoulder, sometimes you can't. All you need to have is somebody confused, and someone's going to wipe out my car.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not in it. But that's dangerous in itself. Sometimes hard shoulder, sometimes not hard shoulder. Who knows? So I walk back to this fella, and he's pretty shaken up. And his car, well, the right-hand side of it's just wrecked. I mean, he's driven into the side of the motorway barrier, concrete barrier, hasn't he?
Yeah.
his headlights all smashed up, and it's undrivable. So I'm pretty sure modern cars, that's a write-off. He's probably bent the frame or something. I mean, serious damage. So, we exchanged insurance details and all the rest of it, and later... this is before 9 o'clock in the morning. I tried to call my insurance company, nobody there.
Oh, no, you can't get hold of them at the weekend.
Well, do they think you don't have accidents on the weekend? So later on, when I was near Telford, I called them up, and I gave them all the details. They didn't want to know. My insurance
Really?
No. They said, you got to call his... I thought, when you're fully comp, your insurance company goes and sorts it out with theirs.
Yeah.
I thought that was the deal.
I thought it was.
So they made me call his, and they said, all right, well, we'll see. And if he accepts that it was his fault, then... but it's a good chance. There was no witness. No one stopped, thank you. No one stopped. So he could say anything happened.
Yeah.
He could say I wasn't even involved. He could say he didn't even hit me. He could say he just hit the barrier.
Yeah.
If he wanted to.
I thought your insurance company represented you.
That's what I thought
in
they
these
did.
sorts of incidents.
That's what I thought it worked. That's how I thought it worked.
And they argue between themselves.
Yes, I thought that's how it worked. So I won't be renewing with them again. No. I can't tell you who they are, but their initials are E. Sure. So anyway, yeah, lucky to be alive, but all because of the smart motorway. Now, I've done some investigation on this, and I've spoken to a retired police officer and all the rest of it. And, because the guy went into the back of me, it was his fault. But there was no need for any of this. If we had normal motorways like we used to have, I wouldn't have had to hit the brakes to get a ticket, because it's a £100 ticket.
And was there any reason why this gantry went down to 50 miles an hour?
Yeah, to make more money.
Like us on Facebook. Follow the link at BOBfm.co.uk.
Morning, Piper.
I've got a good complaining story for you.
Oh, what happened?
Well, it's not me, actually. It's my husband.
Yeah.
When he was a student, he and his mates, they all went out for quite a boozy meal down in Southampton. And sort of caroused until the early hours. And anyway, what they did the next day was they rang the restaurant and to complain about the noisy students who were making a racket, i.e. them.
They called up and complained about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got a free meal.
Good morning. Who's this?
My name is Pat Davis.
How are you, Pat?
I'm fine. Did you get my message?
Well, how did you send the message to me?
By telephone.
Oh, I see. It's an answer phone message, is it?
No, I sent a message. I rang your number.
Yes, this number?
And your number, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I rang you on 01438 422 106.
That's my number.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
I have protested several times about the weather maps on television.
Right, okay.
I live in Hertford. They never show Hertford.
They don't?
They show Ware.
Yes.
They show Luton.
Yes.
They sometimes show Harlow.
Yes.
But they never show Hertford.
Let me just check. Hold on a second. Let me just check our weather map here.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Hertford is missing from our map. Yes.
Well, I'm here.
Yes,
I'm
are you?
certainly not missing.
No, you're not. You're definitely not missing. What was your name again?
Well, it was Mrs. Pat Davies.
Mrs. Pat Davies. Mrs. Pat Davies.
Davies.
Whereabouts are you in Hertford?
Nearly in the middle.
Okay, I'm writing you in now, Mrs. Pat Davies, right in the middle of where Hertford should be on our weather map.
Would you like my telephone number?
No, thank you. I don't think we should put that on there. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want my address? Do you want my postcode?
No, I'm fine. I think just having your name there where Hertford should be should do the trick.
Well, everybody knows me in Hertford.
Yes, do they?
I was born here in 1940.
Yes.
And only missed being killed because Hitler couldn't aim straight.
Right. He's a bit.
You get my meaning?
Yes, maybe he bought his weapons from the same place that Theresa May got our latest nukes.
I have no idea.
Yes, because we've had a problem with those as well. All right. Well, thank you, Mrs. Pat.
Mrs. Pat Davies.
That's right, Mrs. Pat Davies.
Actually
yes.
An M.A.
What's that?
Master of Arts.
Are you really? What arts are you master of?
Conservation policy.
I didn't realise that was an art. How about that? I would have thought sculpture would have been more your speed.
Well,
but there you go.
No. I'm an art, an artist, so to speak.
Yes.
I'm conservation policy. I graduated from Middlesex Poly, but it's now called Middlesex University.
That's fantastic. Mrs. Pat Davis, it's been a pleasure talking to you, but I have to conserve some time right now, so I have to go. All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is Bob.
Chris, have you bought any vinyl records lately?
Now, I heard this story yesterday. There's going to be a massive resurgence in it.
This is how they're describing it. A massive resurgence in vinyl. Okay, a survey of 2 people. I have bought no vinyl records in the last 12 months for a very important reason. I don't have a record player. How about you?
I went into a record shop 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And I didn't buy any vinyl.
There you go. But they're making out there's a massive resurgence in vinyl. Now, you can believe this news from these experts, or you can look at your own personal experience, which is you have not bought any vinyl in the last 12 months and nobody you know has.
I went in there. It was a little bit like a museum.
Yes.
I flicked through and thought, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
But I don't have a record player.
Yes.
So I walked straight out again.
Vinyl is not on its way back. But here are the figures. Last year, vinyl accounted for 5% of all music sales.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the face of it, that sounds like, wow, I didn't know it was that high. But when you think about it, who's paying for music? Most music isn't bought. Most music is downloaded or streamed for free. Only a tiny fraction is actually being paid for. And of that tiny fraction, only a tiny fraction of that, 5%, is being bought on vinyl.
That's true.
It's a tiny fraction. The other figure they like to trot out, Sky News did this morning. They're saying the last time this much vinyl was sold was 1991. Now, I remember 1991. Nobody was buying vinyl. You walk into an HMV or a Virgin Megastore or anywhere where they sold music, because there was no downloading or streaming then, but in 1991, if you walked into any place that sold music, it was all CDs.
It was.
You couldn't even find vinyl to buy. So those heady days are what they're comparing today's sales of vinyl to. 1991.
You are right, because it completely disappeared.
Disappeared. The people saying that we're going back to vinyl because we're buying as much of it as we did in 1991. Well, that's like saying we're going back to horse-drawn vehicles because there's just as many on the road now as there were in 1991. So this list of names that Tatler have come up with for new babies.
Yeah.
What are they saying? These are the names, these are posh names?
Yeah, these are posh names that if you want your child to get ahead in life, these are the names that you need to be giving to your kids.
I don't know why. I mean, some of the names, Alfreda for a girl? Sounds like somebody in ABBA.
Blanche. Now that's an old one, isn't it?
That's an old-fashioned name. Yeah. That's another girl. Zaza? As in Zaza Gabor?
Maybe. I mean, that's more like Russian Tsar, isn't it?
Yeah, it's C-Z-A-R hyphenated, Zaza. What's your name? Zaza. I heard you the first time. I mean, you're setting yourself up there, aren't you?
One of my favourite ones is Power and Scar.
And that's for a girl.
In the girls' names, yeah.
I mean, they're superhero names.
Yeah. Imagine calling your daughter Scar, though.
The boys' names. Orbin, Barkley, Casa, David. David? No, that's a bit weird. How did that get in there? John's in there as well. John's in there as well.
Oh, that's a good sign. My middle name's John.
Yeah, well, it's near like Mao and Staunton and I don't know. This morning, how did you choose the name Dylan for your kid? Was it Bob Dylan or was it Dylan Thomas?
No,
They're the only two famous Dylans I can think of.
It wasn't after famous Dylans. We just like the name. My wife's mum is Welsh.
Yes.
And we quite like some of the Welsh names.
Yes.
So we went through a list of names, discounted names of people who we didn't like.
Right.
And then arrived at Dylan eventually.
Right, okay.
So no particular reason for it apart from we like the name.
Because there was a trend there for a while where parents were naming the kid after where they were conceived. I met a kid once and her name was India.
Oh, right.
And it was because and Brooklyn Beckham.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's not nice, because you don't want to think about your parents conceiving.
No. And if you've been branded with that name...
Yeah, it's inescapable.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't have kids called Bike Shed, Graveyard,
Toilet Cubicle,
Ford Fiesta. Have we tried to nuke America?
Well, it's all a bit unclear at the moment, isn't it?
It is all a bit unclear. What do we know?
Well, at the moment, in terms of the details, we know there was a Trident test failure.
Right.
And now Labour and the SNP want ministers to say why test firing of this Trident missile reportedly went wrong.
Off the coast of Florida.
Yeah. It's reportedly veered off course.
Right. I wouldn't... Firing missiles off the coast of Florida, is that even a good idea? Shouldn't we be firing missiles in the middle of the Pacific? Didn't we used to do that in the middle of the Pacific?
I would say in the middle of nowhere is
or in the
a very
middle of
good
Australia,
idea.
we used to do this, but off the coast of Florida? Isn't that a bad plan for a start?
Well, the Ministry of Defence is saying the submarine, which was HMS Vengeance and its crew, was
just there. Can I just stop
Yeah.
you there?
Yeah.
The Ministry of Defence. Defence. They're supposed to be defending us.
They are, yes.
But the submarine's called Vengeance.
I know. It's polar opposites, isn't it?
That's not defence. When you call your nuclear submarine with 4 missiles on board and 48 warheads, and you call it Vengeance, that doesn't sound much like defence to me.
Don't we have destroyer boats as
We
well?
We have ships called destroyers, and at least one submarine called Vengeance.
Yeah.
And we're claiming that's defence.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, according to some of the papers, this was according to the Sunday Times yesterday, this unarmed missile, they're saying it was unarmed.
Unarmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was intended to be fired just over 5,500 miles from the coast of Florida to a sea target off the west coast of Africa, but it then veered towards the US.
Yeah.
God dear.
Now, the timing of this is a bit awkward because supposedly this happened just a few weeks before our leader, Theresa May, she ran a campaign to renew the Trident deterrent. The way that they use language, deterrent with vengeance.
Well, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Then to renew it. And they're saying this happened a few weeks before that. And they're saying that she knew all about this failure. That the thing was dodgy. It's on the fritz. That she knew that this thing wasn't working well when she went for it. So Andrew Marr interviewed her yesterday on the Awful Andrew Marr show, it's a terrible show. But they get to interview the Prime Minister. Did you see any of that?
Didn't she refuse to answer the question numerous times?
I'm going to play you the bit where Andrew Marr asked her the question, he's basically saying that when you stood up in the House of Commons and said that we need to renew Trident, did you know that, it didn't work? And I've got my bell here, and I'm going to ding my bell every time I think she tries to deflect and not answer the question, because what politicians do, instead of answering a question, they just make a statement that's vaguely based on the question. It's the same subject, But it's just a statement. It's not an answer to the actual question.
That's right.
Okay, so this is to see how we go here.
You'll have seen the story this morning about a Trident misfire that was kept from the House of Commons and kept from the public. When you made that first speech in July in the House of Commons about our Trident nuclear defence, did you know that misfire had occurred?
Well, I have absolute faith in our Trident missiles. When I made that speech in the House of Commons, what we were talking about was whether or not we should renew our Trident, whether or not we should have Trident missiles, an independent nuclear deterrent in the future.
Did you know that it didn't happen?
I think we should defend our country. I think we should play our role in NATO with an independent nuclear deterrent. Jeremy Corbyn thinks differently. Jeremy Corbyn thinks we shouldn't defend our country.
This is a very serious incident. Did you know about it when you told the House of Commons?
And the issue that we were talking about in the House of Commons was a very serious issue. It was about whether or not we should renew Trident, whether we should look to the future and have a replacement Trident. That's what we were talking about in the House of Commons. That's what the House of Commons voted for. I believe in defending our country. Jeremy Corbyn voted against it. He doesn't want to defend our country with an independent nuclear deterrent.
Prime Minister, did you know?
There are tests that take place all the time regularly for our nuclear deterrents.
Wow.
Some evasion there.
Some evasion from a lady who, when she first became Prime Minister, we kind of admired because she didn't evade the question. This is her very first Prime Minister's question time. And she answers a direct question with a direct answer.
Let me congratulate the Prime Minister on her new role. So can we cut to the chase? Is she personally prepared to authorise a nuclear strike that could kill 100,000 innocent men, women and children?
Yes. And I have to say to the honourable gentleman, the whole point of a deterrent is that our enemies need to know that we would be prepared to use it.
So, same topic, same kind of general area, same subject matter. When she first became Prime Minister, she gave a direct answer. Would you be prepared to use... Yes. To kill hundreds of thousands of people? Yes. Now, she won't even say whether she knew about the latest incident. She's become even more of a politician since she's been Prime Minister. She is now playing the game. It's just very sad, isn't it, that she can't just answer a direct question anymore. She used to be able to do it.
It is a yes or no answer to the question that Andrew...
Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know?
And any normal person, in inverted commas, would probably give a yes or no answer.
But this is why I don't like the Andrew Marr show. He let her off the hook. It's like she was allowed to keep going like that. He should have just said, Paxman was annoying, but he wouldn't let him off the hook. And Andrew Marr just let her off the hook. He needed to say, look, I'm sorry, Prime Minister, but I need you to give me an answer. And then he needed to say, if she was going to do that, he needed to say, why won't you give me an answer? But he didn't. He moved on. And the politicians know this now, as long as they pad it out. Because the Andrew Marr show is such a bad show. One of the big problems with it, it's a live show. So the politicians know that there's only a certain amount of time allotted to that slot. So all they have to do is a bit of rope-a-dope for a while and, run out the clock, kick it to the corner flag for a bit. The whistle will go and they have to move on. And they know this is how the game is played. That's why with politicians, a recorded interview is much better. Okay, we've got an hour. We're looking for 5 minutes. If it takes an hour, I'm going to be here for an hour. I'm going to get 5 minutes. That's what they should do with them. You can't trust them because they know how to play the game now. The Andrew Marr show is a dud, and so is our Prime Minister. Mick.
Hi, Graham. Yeah, you're on about parking.
Yeah.
Come home for work Saturday afternoon, and someone had parked across my drive, so I couldn't get the van in the drive. Actually, across the drive.
Yeah.
So I've gone round all the houses and knocked on the doors. So does it belong to you? Does it belong to you? No one claimed it. So I got the van and I got behind it and I pushed it in the van about 100 yards into the middle of this main road.
Right.
Left it.
Yeah.
And then I could hear all these bibbing and everything. I looked out the window and there's all these cars trying to get past and they couldn't.
Yeah.
15 minutes later, the police turned up.
Yeah?
And I've gone down the bottom, and I said to the police, what's happened here then? He said, I think the handbrake's gone on this car because it's ended up in the middle of the road. So the coppers have looked, and what it is, the bloke's gone to football at Stevenage because I live near the football ground.
Yeah?
He's parked his car outside my house and driven and walked to the football ground.
So did the cops tow it off?
Yeah. What they did is they got the tow truck onto it and they pulled it away.
So did you ever hear anything about it? Like, did the bloke show up and knock on your door and say, hey, there was a car here?
No, I think what they did is they put a thing over the antenna at Stevenage to say the registration number.
Oh, yeah.
And he must have claimed it that way. But
Brilliant. Result, eh?
yeah, he shouldn't have parked outside my drive.
No, he shouldn't. Thanks a lot, Mick.
Thanks.
Bob's Breakfast.
It's that time of year again, Chris.
That time of year?
The time of year when people in the media make predictions.
Okay.
Only problem is, no one can predict the future. In fact, all clairvoyants are crooks. Nobody could predict what a mess 2016 would turn out to be.
It was an interesting year.
There's your proof right there.
Yeah.
It can't be done.
You couldn't have said at January 2016 what was going to happen that year at all.
Brexit, Trump, just for starters. Now, the masters, of course, of the inaccurate predictions are the fortune tellers who pretend to be scientists and work at the Met Office. Every long-term forecast for 2016 was wrong. Every one of them. They predicted snow and ice for what turned out to be one of the warmest Aprils on record.
I remember that.
Yep. And we got a wet Christmas instead of the white one they promised. The Arctic blast that it still hasn't hit us. In fact, this morning was supposed to be, weren't we supposed to be like at minus 20 or something?
Yeah, we've been having severe weather warnings come through as well. And
yeah, for this morning.
It was going to be absolutely terrible. But
the gauge on my car, -1, which is cold, but it was colder earlier in the week.
Yeah, it was -4 last week.
Yes. So, yeah, Met Office. Now, not but far behind the Met Office for useless predictions and forecasting are your tech gurus. It feels like it's for the last 10 years they've been predicting that the next must-have gizmos will be
wearable tech.
Wearable tech. Wearable tech. All we ever hear is blinking wearable tech. And so far, every single attempt at getting us to wear our gadgets has failed.
We haven't moved beyond global hypercolour t-shirts.
We have
in
not.
In the 1990s.
We have not. And they were not a success either.
No.
Who wants to see where people are sweating? Google Glass. The optical head-mounted display designed in the shape of eyeglasses that was going to replace smartphones. Google Glass. Went on sale on the 15th of May, 2014. Have you ever seen anybody, apart from on TV, apart from a tech guru on TV blabbing about wearable tech, have you ever actually in real life seen anybody wearing Google Glass?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Very good reason for this, because in January 2015... So what did it last? 18 months? Google pulled the plug on Google Glass due to lack of interest.
Well, weren't they giving out free samples at one point? They were wanting people to test them out.
Things that were going to cost about 1,500 quid they were giving away.
They were.
They keep going on about it, though. Even though if you want any quiet time in an Apple store, just go to the Apple Watch table. I always, whenever I'm in an Apple store, take a twit pic of the Apple Watch table. No matter how packed it is, Apple Watch table, completely empty. Wearable tech. Nobody wants it. Why would you want the Apple Watch? Why would you want a device with a tiny screen, not much bigger than a postage stamp, when screens on phones have been getting bigger? So why would you want a tiny screen strapped to your wrist, no more than 2 inches away from where the actual iPhone is when you're holding it?
Every morning, I put my phone in my pocket.
Yes.
I put my watch on my wrist.
Yes.
The first thing I do when I get to work, take my watch off, put it in the drawer, get my phone out, put my phone next to me.
Yeah. And if you want to tell the time on your phone, if you're right-handed, you hold the phone with your left hand so you can tap keys with your right hand. You hold the phone in your left hand. That's where your watch is.
Yeah.
It's right next to the phone.
It is.
Only on a tiny screen. Nobody wants the Apple Watch because it's wearable tech, and nobody wants wearable tech. Why do you think 3D TV hasn't caught on? It's because you have to wear stupid glasses.
That's right.
It's the wearable tech that's stopped it.
This was going to be the big thing, wasn't
Big
it?
thing.
People were talking about 3D TVs. This
Yeah.
is going to be amazing.
Yeah. But they never worked out 3D TV without the glasses.
No.
If they'd worked it out without the glasses, it stood a chance. Once you get wearable tech, we don't want wearable tech. Now, they've got a new one now, the tech gurus. As well as the wearable tech, their prediction of drones will be delivering internet shopping.
They've been talking about this for some time. We've heard, I think it was in the last 6 months, there were fears that there'd be swarms of drones in the sky, disturbing our peace.
Sky was going to be black with drones. It's not going to happen. The reason why? The media are ignoring some basic truths about drones, including the fact that they can only stay in the air for a maximum of 25 minutes. Their range is limited even more because they can't be controlled further away than 6 miles. And that's a long range one. Most of them is like only a few hundred feet. They don't like flying in the rain. Never mind snow or hail. And what would I do? Right? I live in a block of flats.
Yeah.
Okay, so I order something on Amazon. How is the drone going to be able to hover in front of the keypad at my front door with the number on it and type in the number of my flat, talk to me on the phone, and wait till I push the button and go, come on up and let them in? Then what's the drone going to do? Is it going to fly up the stairs, or is it going to hover in the lobby and manage to push the lift button? And then when it gets to my floor, is it going to hover through 2 fire doors? Heavy fire doors. Then when it finds my front door, it will probably have used up its 25 minutes of flying time.
Quite possibly.
And
just
can you
getting through that
control it
process.
if it's indoors and the controller's outdoors? It's bad enough getting a mobile phone signal indoors, never mind a drone's complicated flying instructions and telemetry. And what if I'm not home?
That's a big problem.
Is the drone going to leave my stuff with a neighbour?
Or with behind a wheelie bin?
Yes! No. The only drone we're going to have in the future is the constant drone of the people in the media telling us about a future that won't happen.
Listen to Bob on your phone. Download the app now.
Good morning, Jane.
You were saying about picking names for your children.
Yeah.
How you got there?
Yeah, how did you do it?
Well, when I was about 11 or 12, I saw a film called The Devil Rides Out.
Right.
And there was a young girl in there, and her name was Tanith, Tanith.
Right.
And ever since that, it stuck in my head, and I thought, well, when one of my kids are going to be born, I'm going to name them Tanith.
Yes.
And I had twin girls, and I named one of them Tanith.
Tanith?
And, that's Tanith, yeah.
That's a nice name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't think so, because every time she goes somewhere and she says her name,
Yes.
they're like, how'd you spell that? What was that? So she does get a bit annoyed with it.
So
But yeah, I think it's a lovely name.
I think it's a unique name, and you've got a good story. And what did you name the other twin?
Sonia, because at the time our last name was Davidson,
Yeah.
and I wanted to call her Harley because I'm into motorbikes. But my husband at the time
Yes.
said, no way, I'm not calling my daughter Harley Davidson.
Right.
So she got called Sonia.
Okay, good for him. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Carolina, you still desperate and dateless?
Graham, I thought that we finished that topic and we decided that we're not going to discuss that in public.
I think the problem was you don't like being described as desperate and dateless because it makes you sound kind of desperate and dateless. Are you still available and hot to trot?
That is a very, very difficult question, to be fair.
Oh, there have been changes in your love life.
I wouldn't go that far. Yes. Well, I was set up for a date in an old-fashioned way by a friend.
Oh, now that's good. Good. Now, was this a blind date or did you know the person?
No, it was a blind date.
Okay. And how did that go?
It was very nice. Very old-fashioned.
Oh, great. Where did he take you?
We just met at the pub.
Oh, that's not very old-fashioned. Old-fashioned is going out for some, maybe something nice to eat. Just meet at the pub. Was it his local? Was it where he was going to be anyway?
No, it was my local.
Oh, it was your local. Okay, so you had the home pub advantage.
Yes.
And how did it go?
No, it went quite well.
Yeah.
We yeah. It was nice, yes. I'm just waiting for the next date, and I think he's very slow.
Oh. Why? Did you get a phone call the next day?
No.
No phone call the next day?
No. Okay, Graham.
Yes.
We already met twice, okay?
Oh, so you've been on 2 dates now?
Yeah.
What I want to know is, after the first date, did you get a phone call the next day?
No.
Not a good sign. So, how long between that date and the second date?
Very long.
How long?
Over a week.
Oh,
10
dear.
days.
Oh, dear. No, this doesn't look good at all. No.
Yeah.
And tell me about this fella. Is he any good?
Yeah, he's very nice.
Okay. And at the end of the date, did he kiss you goodnight?
No kissing, no body contacts, nothing.
No physical?
Very old-fashioned way, yeah.
Okay, Karolina, so there's been no physical contact whatsoever. Did he know it was a date?
I guess so.
You didn't think that was strange? You go on a date with him and at the end of the night you don't get a kiss goodnight? And then you don't get a phone call for a week?
Yeah.
So where did they go on the second date?
Same pub.
Same pub, right, so not very creative. And what happened that night? Was there any physical contact?
No.
And there was no kiss goodnight?
No.
Karolina, this thing is not working out.
No, it's just because I am not very good at this thing.
Oh, at the end of the night, did he walk you home?
He's worse than me.
Did he walk you home?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And at the doorstep, he just went, well, see you then, bye.
Not really, no, but...
Well, what did he do? It sounds like they had an awkward moment at the end. Did you move in? You've got to move in, you know. Did you move in? I mean, recently it's been cold. There should have been some kind of, here, I'll keep you warm. It's just anything.
Oh, yeah, he did that.
Oh, so there was physical...
He gave me a hug, and then he said, like, oh, I will let you go. I'm sure your flat is warmer than my hug.
And then he should have kissed you on the cheek.
But he didn't. I don't think
wait a second, back up a second. He said, I'm sure your flat is warmer than my house.
No, that's my arms, my heart.
Oh, I see. Now, did you say to him, would you like to come in for a cup of coffee?
I didn't, no.
Why?
Because, I didn't.
Well, you've got to do that on the next. If he takes you to the same pub, and
it's going to happen the next one. The worst thing is
on the next one, you're going to say
to this conversation right now, which is very, very embarrassing.
I know, but on the next one, you are going to invite him in for a cup of coffee.
I don't know if he drinks coffee, but I will.
You will invite him in.
Okay, thank you, Graham.
Yes, okay, all right, it's on the cards.
Oh my God.
He's a lucky man. All right, keep me posted, Karolina.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice weekend.
And you too. Bye.
Bob's Breakfast.
Let's check in with Mrs. Davies. Mrs. Davies, what do you think about Donald Trump? Should he be given an official state visit to Britain?
No.
Why not?
Because he's a dirty old... Well, obviously, eventually he will come, but it shouldn't be a full state visit yet.
I mean, we gave the Chinese leader, we gave him a ride in the royal coach with the Queen and tea with the Queen.
The Queen wasn't very happy about it, but
well, how do you know that? You don't know the Queen. And she's not said anything.
I
She's not allowed.
I do read the newspaper.
And the Queen is not allowed to say whether she likes it or not. You've made that up, Mrs. Davies. Okay. Now, should we have a state visit? Should Donald Trump be given tea, roll out the red carpet, tea with the Queen, the rest of it?
Eventually.
Eventually. Well, what's got to change? She hosted Putin.
I think it's her decision. It's not anybody else's.
Well, it turns out she's not made the decision. It turns out that Theresa May has made the decision for her.
Okay.
Okay. So, you think he shouldn't come now? We should wait. Wait for what?
Well, better weather for a start.
Better weather. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Davies.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
This is Bob.
What is going on with Brexit, Chris Hubbard?
Oh, it's a complicated process, isn't it? And seemingly getting even more complicated as the weeks go on.
Yes.
Well, yesterday we heard that judges ruled that MPs have got to approve the triggering of this mythical Article 50.
Yes.
The much talked about Article 50.
Which starts the 2-year process of leaving.
That's right, yeah.
This will follow the 2-year process of deciding to leave.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Theresa May beforehand claimed that she got the power to do it by herself, but the Supreme Court ruled that MPs will now have to approve this. So, next up, we're hearing that MPs are wanting the government to publish its plan for Brexit in a formal document. Mm-hmm. So this is the next stage of things. A number of Tory MPs have joined Labour asking for this white paper, arguing it will allow for a bit of a better debate on Brexit as well. So this is kind of where we're at the moment.
So, for the Brexit process to begin, for Article 50 to be triggered, the House of Commons has to discuss it. So, a white paper. See, isn't this like when they make a law? You have a white paper, which then becomes a bill, then a bill goes through the upper house, and then it becomes a law. They say in the same process will take place.
Well, it sounds like it's going to have to be debated by MPs and Lords, yeah.
Right. So the MPs will debate it, and let's face it, a lot of them are anti-Brexit, even though we had a referendum which gave the pro-Brexit the numbers to push Brexit through.
That's right, yeah.
Because it seems to me that people think that immigrants are costing British jobs, even though at the time of the highest immigration, we have the lowest unemployment for a decade. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. But don't kid yourself. Brexit is about immigration. Prejudice against immigration is just that. The facts don't bear it out. But anyway, that's a whole different deal.
Certainly is.
Yeah. And then added to immigration, the shape of bananas.
Yes, well,
yes. These are the two big issues that are forcing us out of the European Union, is immigration based on feelings, not facts, and the shape of bananas.
It's interesting you say that,
because
really? I know straight after the vote,
yes,
one of the TV channels went out on the streets. I think it was either Grimsby or Hull, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And one of the guys they spoke to, they said, "Why did you vote for Brexit?" And he said, "Well, it's all down to immigration, nothing else, and our bananas."
And our bananas.
And this is what it boiled down to.
Yeah, this is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if they are the two issues that will be discussed in the House of Commons. Okay, the next item on the bill is the consequences of immigration, uncontrolled immigration, and open borders, and that will be followed by the shape of bananas. Because they are the two issues that people voted on. So, the Commons will discuss it. The jocks are anti-Brexit. Wee Jimmy Cranky in a wig. What's her name?
Nicola Sturgeon.
Nicola Sturgeon. Wee Jimmy Cranky in a wig. She has said that they want to put amendments to the bill. Because Conservative government, who are pro-Brexit, even though the Prime Minister was pro-Remain before she worked out that she could become Prime Minister. Anyway, so the jocks are on about putting in all kinds of things to slow it down.
Yeah, well, they also want a good deal for themselves. I think this is
right.
I was listening to one of their politicians yesterday who was saying there's been favourable deals done for companies coming in, and I think it was Nissan. The government did a bit of a favourable deal to keep the manufacturing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, they did a special deal because they were worried that Nissan would relocate.
Yeah. So
and I think there's talk that they'll sort something out for Honda in Swindon as well, isn't there? Yeah.
So now some of the Scottish politicians are saying, well, if a special deal's been done for them, maybe a special deal can be done for us along the way.
Oh, I see. Right. Jocks want special treatment. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're giving out shoe boxes to new mothers with, like, baby stuff in it.
Eh?
Yeah. This is what they're doing up there.
Oh, this is in Scotland?
Yeah. If you have a baby in Scotland, the Scottish government will give you a shoe box with, like, some nappies and I don't know, baby bottle in it or something, a blanket or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Which... Oh, that's very dangerous. You know, to have the state controlling you like that and looking at, that's just very dangerous. That is an attack on freedom. Don't you want to go out and buy your own blanket?
Yeah, I mean,
and your own thing for your baby?
Yeah, the majority of parents will abhor those.
Instead of the state telling you what to do, that's like, that feels like, you know.
I mean, as a new parent, you're treated like you're stupid anyway.
Right, I see.
So, the government getting involved in that is just going to be
You don't want the government getting involved in that. I mean, it's bad enough that we've got the free school meals for all kids, making the state the parent again. Well, you know, what is this? Don't we want some freedom? Don't we want to make our own decisions? You want the state feeding your kids and giving them the right baby blanket. That's a whole different thing. Oh yeah, but it's okay if it's this state. Imagine if the EU tried to impose shoe boxes and free school meals. We wouldn't have it, would we? No, because it's an attack of our freedom. It's a very confused country, this now. We were the UK, the United Kingdom. Now we're not united. Not united at all. We are the former United Kingdom. That's what we are. We're the FUK. That's what we are right now. Anyway. So Labour, they've been very quiet. Because, with Comrade Corbyn in charge of Labour, they're almost like, they just feel like a sleepy grandparent. You know, we know they've got some opinions, and we know they care, and we know they've done a lot, and but they're just like, oh, I'm just going to take a nap. That's what Labour feels like. Labour's taking a nap. We're facing a constitutional crisis. Labour's taking a nap.
And occasionally, in the corner they go,
I heard that, pardon. Yeah. I was watching that. Turn that back on. That's what Labour feels like. Anyway, so Labour, we can't rely on them it's not going to be a lively debate with them in charge of the debate. Well, they're not in charge, the Conservatives are, but I think Jimmy Cranky and a Wiggle give them a run for their money. But she hasn't got the numbers, has she? And then we've got the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems, the actual socialists. When all of their policies are all... No, actually, they're the socialists. To the left of them are the Greens. None of their policies are about green issues. All of their policies are about, like, social manipulation and socialism and, you know, social housing and all these. These are not green issues. Anyway, so the whole thing's a mess anyway. And they're all just power-hungry megalomaniacs. And they're all just going to do what they think needs to be done to keep themselves in power. Or to curry favour with voters. That's how, you know, the over 70s got free TV licenses, and that's how older people get heating allowances even if they live in Spain. This is to buy votes, because they know older people all vote. And it was the older people that voted for Brexit. Because, you know, we were all brought up to fear Europe. Anyway. So, once the House of Commons have discussed it, assuming that they pass some kind of recommendation on how we're going to get out, which the Conservatives said they've got a plan, but it's secret. Why would it be secret? Because they don't want to show their cards for negotiation. There will be no negotiation. There will be no negotiation. We don't have a bargaining chip. If we could go to Europe and say we want a better deal or we're leaving, we would have a bargaining chip. But we're already leaving. So we've got nothing to negotiate. We're going to get a rubbish deal. A rubbish deal. The referendum should have been on, look, do you think we should go and ask for a way better deal, and if we don't get it, we can walk? No, but two things happened. David Cameron went and asked for a better deal without a mandate from the people to say we'll walk if we don't get one. So we didn't get a very good deal. And now we've said we'll already walk. We've used our bargaining chip. We're going to go and say we're walking. And we want a deal now when we... Oh. So then it goes to the House of Lords. Most of the House of Lords are pro-Remain. And the House of Lords are not even... The House of Lords aren't even elected. So you have a referendum, democracy at work. The people say they want to leave, but then the unelected people can say, no, you're going to stay. Wow! I'm Graham Mack, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, make sure you share it on Facebook and Twitter, and you can subscribe at iTunes.
Remember just a few weeks ago, we were being told that vinyl was seeing a resurgence. People were going out buying records in their masses.
And they're not.
Well, now...
They're not.
We're being told the cassette is back.
It's not.
As well.
It's not. So you buy an album on cassette. Let's just say you buy an album on cassette.
Yeah.
Then you've got to spend the rest of your time trying to find a car from the 80s to play it in. Orange Hitler's really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is all surrounding his immigration ban at the moment.
The Muslim ban.
Well, yeah, that's how it's been described in many places.
And this goes against everything that America was built on. America was built by immigrants, a lot of them, particularly Jewish people, fleeing persecution in Eastern Europe. And obviously in Germany. So for a nation that's been built on, and doesn't the Statue of Liberty, doesn't the thing on it say, send me your huddled masses?
That's right, yes.
There's a whole thing on there.
This has been quoted no end at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah.
There are those that are saying that this is anti-American. So we've got protests around the world, a lot of them here in Britain. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's best mate, Theresa May, is silent.
She's not said a lot on the issue, has she?
She hasn't said anything. And this is strange. She was at a meeting in Cardiff. And she left the meeting in Cardiff and went over to Northern Ireland yesterday to try and patch things up with them. Because we've got our own mess here called Brexit. It seems that only the Irish newspapers are reporting this. I've looked for the audio. Theresa May was booed and called a fascist by the people waiting outside in Cardiff. And I found the audio. This is the audio, but this is from, what's this one from? This is from the Irish version of the Independent newspaper, but the Belfast Telegraph have got it too. I don't see many, but anyway, here's the audio of her leaving. You can hear what the crowd is saying. Theresa May's getting into her car. I mean, that's quite vocal, isn't it? But I don't see the British press reporting that. I don't know why.
The British press, I think, focusing on the whole protest in London last night.
Yes. Certain celebrities. I know Gary Lineker showed up there, one of them.
Yeah.
Ed
Tony
Miliband.
Robinson was it?
Yeah,
one of them as
there's
well.
a lot of them. And meanwhile, the thing was discussed in the House of Commons. In Theresa May's absence, because she, of course, was in Northern Ireland. Why they couldn't just say, look, we're going to wait till the Prime Minister comes back. She's the one who shook hands with Orange Hitler. Now, it seems to me like they've rushed it through because they've had to talk about it because of this petition.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But before I get onto the petition, because you know I have an issue with petitions anyway.
Yeah.
They've had to talk about, did you see the pictures of how many people were there in the House of Commons last night? Were there 20 people there?
There weren't a lot.
It's pretty empty.
Yeah.
And Boris was having to speak on behalf of the government, and his thrust was basically that Orange Hitler's bark is worse than his bite. Well, how do you know that? This is Boris Johnson, who, while he was mayor of London, said that a ban on Muslims showed a stupefying ignorance. This is because when Trump had only suggested the idea. And he said that Donald Trump, because of that, was not fit to be president. Now he's saying his bark's worse than his bite. Turns out his bite is exactly what he barked about, and it was the barking about it that Boris Johnson had a problem with. So it tells you all you need to know about Boris Johnson. So anyway, petitions. They don't do any good. But we have a rule now that if you get, is it 100,000 signatures?
It has to be considered for debate.
Yes. But this debate wasn't a debate. It was a kangaroo court. It was people standing up and making a series of statements. There was no argument on it. And at the end of it, they said, no, we're not going to ban Donald Trump's state visit. It would be impossible to stop a state visit by the head of state of the United States. Seen as the Queen has hosted one with Vladimir Putin.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And with the Chinese leader. And if you're talking about human rights violations, you don't have to go much further than Russia and China. So there's no way that this state visit won't happen. It's going to happen. Donald Trump is going to ride in the royal coach. He's going to wave. The Queen is going to wave. She's going to have tea with him. That is going to happen. Odds on. Now, this petition was bound to fail, which is why last night they had this kangaroo court. It was a kangaroo court. They're making you feel like you've got some kind of say in this. You don't. You have no say in America's foreign policy. Not at all. But, however, although I'm against the stupid idea of a petition, and this one in particular, did you actually read what, I think I got over 900,000 signatures.
I thought you might take issue with the wording.
The wording of the petition. The wording of the petition is not, we don't think Donald Trump should be invited for a state visit in London because what he's doing goes against everything we believe in this country. You can't just have a massive prejudice against people based on where they were born, because that's what this is. It's not even based on religion.
No.
It's based on where you were born. There was a BBC journalist who's Iranian born, but he's a British citizen, doesn't even have an Iranian passport, was detained at O'Hare Airport in Chicago for hours on end, simply because he was born in Iran. He was arrested in Iran once because he worked for the BBC. He's been fighting terrorism in his own way through journalism. He's been against it. Yet he was detained and accused of being a terrorist simply because of where he was born. That's not how we work in Britain. This petition should have had something to do with the fact that Donald Trump is discriminating against people based on where they were born. You can't do that. That should have been the objection to the state visit.
And I think a lot of people signed that petition based on that thinking.
But that's, if you read...
It's not the wording.
It's not the wording of... Do you have the exact wording of the petition?
I'm sure I can get hold of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
the exact wording of the petition that close to or around 1 million people signed to prevent a state visit of Donald Trump to the UK, meaning the Queen would roll out the red carpet. Okay.
So it's had 1.6 million signatures.
1.6 million. Oh, well, way more than I thought.
So it's a petition to prevent Donald Trump from making a state visit to the United Kingdom. Donald Trump should be allowed to enter the UK in his capacity of head of the US government, but he should not be invited to make an official state visit because it would cause embarrassment to Her Majesty the Queen.
He should not be allowed to make a state... The wording is, he should not be allowed to make a state visit because it would cause embarrassment to the Queen.
She's hosted Mugabe in the past.
Yeah. embarrassment to the Queen. She sat through Cliff Richard performances. And Gary Barlow.
Yeah, I don't know which is worse.
But this would cause embarrassment to the Queen. We're more worried about embarrassing the Queen than welcoming with open arms a man who goes against everything we believe in as free citizens. It's more important that we don't embarrass the Queen. Honestly, so much progress in this country, but deep down, we're still just peasants.
Follow us on Twitter at BOBfm UK.
So, protests.
Absolutely.
Not good. Some good banners, though.
I've been looking at some of these.
Have you got a favourite?
It was one, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something to do with calling Donald Trump a what's-it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Right.
My two favourites are protest in Liverpool about Theresa May cozying up to Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
The banner said, Theresa, your Trump stinks. But my favourite, and I don't know if this is from the current protests or whether this is from one of the women's marches. It's a photo I saw on Twitter, so I retweeted it. It's a Muslim lady holding a banner, and on her banner it says, 2/3 of Trump's wives were immigrants, proving once again we need immigrants to do jobs most Americans wouldn't do.
Bob's Breakfast.
So you brought us the story of the failed world record attempt, the Scottish half marathon. The course was too short.
Absolutely, 150 metres too short.
So the bloke that thought he'd broken the world record hadn't. It was a failed world record attempt.
Yeah, he's thought for a vast majority of the last year that he was the record holder.
Wow. When have you attempted to break a world record and failed? Ken?
I went for the World Crisp Eating Contest.
What, and where did this take place?
It took place in Hertford, at Sill School.
Yes.
It was when Walker's Crisp came out.
Yeah.
They tried to take the record from Smith.
Yeah.
And I ate about 22 packets of crisps.
Oh, jeez, that's not good.
It was okay when I started.
Yes, I'm sure it was, because,
Then
you know...
Then eating razor blades.
Really? And how many other people are involved in this challenge?
I started off at 10 people.
10 people. Now, did any of the others do any better than you?
No, I won it.
You won it, and so how many did you consume?
22 packets.
22 packets of Walker's Crisps?
Yes.
And the record was?
27.
Oh! Oh, right. And in how much time?
That was in an hour.
In an hour. You had to eat as many bags of crisps in an hour as you could.
That's right.
And you didn't get the world record?
No, and
right.
I suffered.
And can you eat crisps now?
Oh, put me off them for years, but yes, I'm back on them.
You're back on them, but for years you couldn't look at it. You couldn't look at a crisp.
My lips were cut. It was like eating razor blades. I was constipated for a week.
Oh, were you? Oh dear.
I was in a dreadful state.
Oh, were you? It didn't do you any good at all?
No, not at all.
No good came of this, Ken?
No, not at all.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You take care, Graham.
Thank you, mate.
Bob's Breakfast.